So for the ones of you guys on here yesterday and joining me again today, thank you for being on this call. Yesterday was a little bit different than today. Today, I'm going to go back. I'm not going to really refer to the script a lot because we do change the script from time to time. So if you watch this video and we've changed the script a couple times, I want everything to make sense. But what I am going to focus on are the basically I've got 6 points that I want to make about the sales process. Now, if you're doing field sales of any kind, all of these things will relate the same as they do in phone sales. There are a few differences over the phone. You don't have the ability to look at someone, to lean in as they lean in, but all of the gestures and all of the things that I do face to face, I still do them over the phone. So yesterday we talked in depth about mindset and the proper mindset, which I believe is 90% of everything. The rest of the stuff that I'm going to talk to you today is very important. It's crucial, but the mindset is the main thing. And we compare the two, and you've heard me say this over and over if you follow me very long. Skill set is important. Mindset is very, very important. Those are the two areas that we want to improve in on a daily basis. And I want to kind of say something. Yesterday in our Discord conversation, Stephen, you shared an article on self-development. It's a very good article, but it was kind of ironic when I looked at your article. It made reference to this book, The Science of Getting Rich. And what's the reason I say it's ironic is because I had this book on my desk opened, because it's a book that I read in not every day, but a few times during the week. I'll pick this up. It's just a small book, and it's a book that I read in over and over. So we're on the same page. We're on the same wavelength with that. And so thanks for sharing that. It's very good content, things like that, guys. Anytime you can put something positive in the Discord conversation is much appreciated. And that helps everybody. It's easy to get negative. We can all get there. We can all go there, but we can't stay there, guys. It's crucial that when we find ourselves getting negative, the mindset is getting off, that we make a course correction very, very quickly, because how we view things will determine how we do things. I've said that over and over and over, and it is so very true. We've got one of the greatest opportunities in the nation with this industry. Final expense life insurance is exploding. Now, it's not a perfect industry. There is no perfect industry. We're always working. I mean, I know Scott is on here, and we found ourselves with the lead discussion again. Got to get this type of lead, got to get this type of lead. And leads are always on the forefront, or the front of mind for what we do, because leads drive everything. And so which brings me to the biggest point that I make in telesales or in field sales. You can have the right mindset. You can have all of the tools and have the perfect skill set. But if you don't have leads and you don't have people to talk to, you're out of business. Think about it like this. Say you own a retail store and you sell clothes, and you've got the best location. You've got the best employees. You've got the best marketing plan. Everything is perfect. You excel in every area, but you don't have any merchandise. You don't have anything to sell. That's what it's like running your business with no leads. You got to have leads. You got to have people to call. You got to have people to see. You got to have people to talk to. And so, sure, it's important, it's crucial that we have the proper mindset, that we stay positive, that we view what we do correctly so that we do what we do correctly. All of these things are crucial, but we got to have leads. We got to have people to call, and we got to work those leads, and we got to work them over and over and over, call until we reach those people and actually get through a conversation. So got to have the leads, got to call the leads, got to see the leads, got to work the leads. Proper mindset. We're developing our skill sets. Leads is everything. So in viewing what we do correctly, this is, again, one of the best opportunities. And I believe, and I've seen every platform out there with every company out there, guys, in 20 something years, I've sold final expense insurance for almost every major final expense company out there, with the exception of a couple. And this is what I can tell you. Senior Life has the all-around best package. And when I say package, what I mean is, if you take the lead system, you take the enrollment system with the Slice application, you take the ease of getting business issued, and then you pile all that on top of the legacy plan with legacy, lead with legacy, another video that we have that you can check out on our YouTube page here. You know, there's no better all-around total package in the final expense industry. And the great thing about Senior Life is getting better and better and always improving. So that's what I like about it. It grows with us. As we continue to grow, we grow together. So with that being said, it's a great opportunity, wonderful opportunity. Now, people watch this video, you may not work with Senior Life. You may work with another company. You may work with another IMO, FMO, somebody out there. You may sell a different product. These things still translate. It's still the same 6 key points that I'm going to drive home today. They transfer over into whatever you're doing. Sales is sales. Final expense at the end of the day is final expense. Now, there's going to be some things when we talk about building value later that you may not be able to use, but you're going to have to figure out a way to do it without the legacy plan, because the legacy plan is something that is proprietary to Senior Life. And so we'll cross that bridge. But yesterday I stopped, and when I refer to yesterday, if you're watching this on YouTube, there is a part 1 to this. It's called Telesales Academy Part 1. This is the Part 2 edition. So just find Part 1, go back and watch that, or rewatch it if you've already watched it and it's been a while, and then you'll understand kind of what I'm leading up to. But the 6 steps of the sales process, the way I have broken it down, very easy to remember, is what I want to go over today. Yesterday, I started with the first one, which is the greeting, which we will call salutation, because salutation rhymes with conversation. Conversation rhymes with presentation, valuation, persuasion, and reiteration. I've tried to put them all together and create words that are memorable, that all sound the same, that all end in shun or ation or something like that. So with that being said, the greeting or the salutation is where we left off yesterday. We ended there, and I want to just bring back a little recap there, 2 minutes, and say the most important point and important topic that I mentioned in the greeting is the emotion. Sales is a transfer of emotion. So with your emotional vibration or emotional link, what you're on, you are going to set the tone for this conversation. This works whether you're over the phone or face to face. We have to set the tone on the phone. Set the tone on the phone. So one way that I do that is I make sure that I'm 100% focused on that sale. You know, I've got a partner that when he gives sales talks, he talks about being seated in the sale. I'm seated, I'm locked in the sale. I cannot be distracted. I am there 100% present where my feet are. This is crucial in any type of sales. So many people miss sales, miss closes, because they're not seated in the sale. Their mind is in a million different directions. They're thinking about, did they pay the light bill? Did they pack this kids' lunches? Whatever it is, whatever you deal with in here has got to be closed off, and you've got to be focused. You got to be seated in the sale, because again, sales is a transfer of emotion. And so you have to be emotionally strong, locked in with this person, because you're setting the tone, you're setting the vibration, you're setting the mood of the call. It's all up to you and how focused and locked in you are. So that is crucial. If you cannot focus. Now, I am a type of person that I struggle with this. I will be honest with you. I have to lock in. I've got a cell phone that beeps, vibrates, does something, makes some kind of noise about every 2 or 3 minutes of the day. And when I'm focused, just like I'm focused on you guys today, this thing is away. Over the next hour, I don't care who's trying to get a hold of me. I don't care who's texting me. tweeting. I don't care, what type of message, even the Discord platform that I love so much because that's the way I communicate with our team. All of that does not matter at this point because I'm locked in. I'm seated in this moment. I'm where my feet are and I'm focused. If you can do this, that will translate to the other end of that phone line. That will come through with these people. I am focused 100% in this sale, in this moment, in this meeting. All of that's going to come through within the first 30 to 60 seconds. When you get on that phone, that person's going to feel that. They're going to sense that, man, this guy cares about me. This woman cares about me. They're locked in. They're focused on me. And you want to establish that early on. I said, set the tone on the phone, and it is important, but it's the same thing face to face. If you're doing field sales, set the tone. When you come to that door, your smile needs to be there. Absolutely crucial that you smile. I smile so big and so hard that my eyes close. I do whatever I can to smile, to put that on. Even smiling, it's been scientifically proven that if you smile, even if nobody sees you, the fact that you're smiling affects you and your body and your mannerism, your emotions, your neural wavelengths, and all of these things are affected by the fact that you just decided to put on a smile and to make that happen. I find myself lately, I believe in this so much, and this may seem silly to you. If it does, hey, it works for me. You don't want to do it, that's up to you, but it works for me. I find myself lately just driving down the road. I had a pretty good drive yesterday. I was coming back from North Florida, had about an hour drive in front of me. And I just, gives me a lot of time to think. I listened to some positive podcasts on the way down there, but on my way back, I just was riding down the road and I would practice smiling. I really would. I would just say, I would put that smile on and it'd make me feel better. It would just change my state immediately because I'm telling myself, hey, you need to smile. You're happy. You're joyous. You're filled with joy. You're filled with peace. You've got things to be thankful for. You're blessed. Smile. Put the smile on. Smile is so important. So important. And now, when you get on the phone, you've heard the old saying, we're smiling and dialing. It's absolutely true. You've got to do that. And that smile and that emotion, that happiness, that joy is going to come through on the other end of the phone. Now, if you want just a scowl on your face and you're in a bad mood and you're grumpy, guess what? That's going to come through. And again, I wanted to tell you this yesterday, and I told you over and over, and I'm telling you again today, we have to set the tone. We have to be, what did I say yesterday? We have to be the thermostat, not the thermometer. So we set the tone. Now, the difference in the greeting or the salutation in setting the tone and matching the tone is this. I'm bringing the energy. I'm bringing the vibration. I'm bringing the smile. Everything today. And I think of it like this. I'm preparing a meal. I'm inviting you to sit at the table, but I'm bringing the meal. I'm bringing the main course. I'm bringing the sides. I'm bringing the appetizers. I'm bringing the dessert. I'm serving what we're eating. You're welcome to sit at this table, but I'm the chef. I'm the butler. I'm the server. I'm doing all of that. I'm bringing the meal. You can be seated at the table, but I'm bringing the meal. And that's how you have to look at it with sales. You're bringing the meal. You're providing the service. You're providing the information. You're providing the solution. And you're providing the energy and you're providing the emotion. It's your emotion that's transferring. So if you're happy, they're going to be happy. You have no control on how they answer that phone, the mood they're in, the vibration they're giving off. You have no control over that until you get them on the phone. And then it's your job to bring them up to your level, not to match their level. So some things that I do in the greeting when I'm getting into this, I'm introducing myself. Again, I told you yesterday, I always assume the person that answers the phone is the person you're trying to reach. If you're working some type of lead card, whether it's an internet lead or a social media lead or a direct mail lead, and you're calling them, I always assume that if Jerry Smith sent the card in or requested the information or filled out the electronic form, just when they answer, assume you're talking to that person. Hey, Jerry, how are you doing? You want to be You want to be very nice. You want to be very upbeat, but you don't want to overdo it. You don't want to yell at them. You don't want to come off sounding like a telemarketer. I told you yesterday, we're not telemarketers. We're returning requests. People requested this information. We're calling them back. I love first names because it's more personable. And so, hey, Jerry, how are you doing? The worst thing they could do is say, this is not Jerry. And then we just thought, well, could you get Jerry to come to the phone? I'm sorry, you sounded like Jerry there for a minute. However you want to do that to get that person on the phone and then stay seated in that positive place, okay? Because what we have to do is hook. We have to hook them with our greeting or with our salutation. We want to hook them. We want to get them engaged. We want to get them listening and talking as quickly as possible. I was telling someone this morning, sales is all about getting the other person involved. This is about them. It's not about you. One big mistake that a lot of people make, and I did this for a long time, is they want to get on the phone with someone and talk about themselves or talk about their company right off the bat. There's times for that, and we're going to get into that. But at the beginning of the call, during the salutation or the greeting, we want to get them hooked with our energy and our emotion and get them speaking to us and talking to us as quickly as possible. So the greeting is all about energy. It's all about tone. It's all about not matching, but setting the tone. That's the greeting. So we move from salutation into conversation. If you can go from a salutation into a conversation, you're 90% of the way. I mean, you got a very, very good chance at closing this person. You already know they're interested in what we do. They're already interested in the final expense life insurance, or they would not have called us. They would not have responded to the commercial. They would not have sent the lead card in. They would not have responded to the internet form, whatever, however they responded. So we already know the need is there. We've just got to hook them with the greeting and keep them with the conversation. And this is all about getting them engaged. So let's talk about this. How do you have a conversation? This is where a lot of people have to move out of their comfort zone, because this is where we go past surface. See, a lot of people are very comfortable with surface conversation. Hey, how are you doing? How's the weather? How long have you lived in Chicago? And that's where we start. You know, all of these things are great. We start, but we want to dig down deep below the surface. Below the surface. We want to get into a deeper conversation to where the person on the other end of the line becomes emotional. It's not all about logic, but we want to get them thinking about things that cause them to have an emotional response. This is what sales is. It's appealing to people's emotion. So, how many of you guys have been in a sales situation where everything from a logical standpoint made sense? You went through all of the information about the company that you represent, the product. You told them how great you were. You established a need. You were taught that in sales. You need to establish the need, and then you have to show how you can meet the need. And if it all lines up and if all makes sense, then they should buy and the close should be easy. Well, logically speaking or logically thinking, that all makes sense. But how many of you have ever walked away from a conversation and you did not make the sale and you can't figure out why? Because it just did not make any sense why they didn't buy from you. They needed this. This solved that need, met the need. You did everything right as far as talking about the company and talking about the product. You just couldn't get them to buy because you appealed to their logic. You were trying to show them how it made sense. That's important to an extent, but until you can appeal to their emotions, you're not going to get to that next level as a sales professional. So we have to appeal to people's emotions. And this is the proper way to do it, because what we're dealing with is final expense. This is something that is a very emotional conversation. You know, we're talking about life and death. We're talking about providing for your family or taking from your beneficiaries and heirs. Would you rather leave for them, or would you rather leave a burden on them? Do you rather, you know, all of these things, these are emotional conversations? Do you stay in bed at night thinking, stressing, what's going to happen when I pass away? Is my spouse going to be taken care of? Or my kids going to be? All these are very emotional things, and there's a lot of different emotional triggers that we want to hit and that we want to pull, because it's our job to do that. It's our job to make sure that we do appeal to these emotions and that we are able to help people on that level. So we got to get them into a conversation. Remember this right off the bat. This is about the customer. This is about the client. This is about the person sitting in front of us or on the other end of the phone. I'm a firm believer that in our salutation and in our conversation, we don't need to talk about ourselves or about our company or about our product. If you're taking notes, write this down. The greeting or the salutation and the conversation is all about the person on the other end of the phone or at the other end of the table or sitting across from us. It has to be all about them. They don't care about who we are, all of these things. They don't care about our company, our product. They don't care what we know. You've all heard the old saying, nobody cares what you know, or nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. So this is where we establish that right here. We establish the fact that this conversation is about you, Mr. and Mrs. Jones. This conversation is about meeting your needs. We're going to establish your needs. This conversation is all about you. So here we go. How do we start a conversation? Well, if you've got any kind of lead card, lead piece, you probably know the city that they live in. We're going to start surface and we're going to go deeper. This is where we break the ground and we go deeper. Mrs. Jones, Mrs. Smith, how long have you lived in Chicago? It's a very simple question. You know they live in Chicago. Well, we've been here about 10 years. Now, where were you at before Chicago? Now, if there's two words I can tell you right here that are very powerful, is this: slow down. This is where we go real slow and we slow down and we really genuinely care about these people. If we're driven entirely to make a commission and that's all we care about, you're going to always struggle connecting with people because they can sense it. We have to have a genuine concern for people, and it's going to come through the other end of the phone, or it's going to come through in our mannerisms and in our conversation. So here's what we do. Ms. Jones, how long have you been in Chicago? Where were you at before Chicago? Now tell me about this. You said you were a school teacher. How many years did you teach? 30? And then we just sit back. We just keep the conversation going. If we can get them engaged, if we can get them talking, if we can get them opening up, then we're going to get to where we need to be. The presentation, all that's going to come later. We just want to get them talking and engaged. And we want to always take it back to the spouse and to their children, because this is who is going to be left with the burden of their final expense needs. And so that's the problem that we can solve, but we got to develop the problem. We've got to talk about the problem. And the way we get that is we got to start drilling down on the spouse, on the beneficiaries, on the kids, and get that to come up in the conversation. So, Miss Jones, now how many kids do you have? 3? You got boys or girls? Both? You got 2 girls, 1 got boy? What are their names? I'm making mental notes. I'm writing down names because later I'm going to use their names. I'm not going to say your daughter. I'm going to say Angela. Everything has to be personal. Everything has to appeal to emotion. So we got to make everything personal. If you're good, even if I'm face to face, I'm writing it down. They don't care that I'm writing it down. I'm taking notes. If they're talking to their doctor's taking notes. If they talk to a therapist, the therapist is taking notes. If they talk to a contractor at their house, a contractor's taking notes. You are the professional. Take notes. These things are important. Refer back to your notes when you're trying to keep the conversation going or when you get into the presentation, and make it as personal as you can. Now, how long does the salutation last? However long it takes to hook them and get them into a conversation. How long does the conversation last? The conversation should drift transfer from a conversation to a presentation effortlessly. I can't tell you how long it's going to take. Sometimes it takes longer. You got to get people talking. You've got to get people freely flowing. You got to get their guard down. You got to get their walls down, and you got to develop trust. If you can do this, the quicker you do it, the better, but don't be in a hurry. Slow down. You know how long the presentation takes. You've done it 100 times, or you're going to if you haven't. You know how long it takes to build value because you talked about the problems that we solve before. The conversation is the part that we don't put a time limit on. We sense it. We can feel their emotion. We can tell when their walls come down. We can tell when they're starting to trust us. We can tell when they're at ease. All of these things, I can listen to the breathing through the phone. If I see somebody, I can look at their eyes. I can tell if they're tense or when they relax. All of these things I'm looking for because I want to get them ready to buy. See, a lot of times we try to get people to buy before they're ready to buy. It's our job not just to get them to buy, but to get them ready to buy. So, salutation or greeting into a conversation. A lot of just simple things you can ask. When I got on the call with you guys before I started recording this, what did we talk about? The weather. That's simple. In South Georgia, it's colder than it usually is. So we talk about that. It's a little chilly here. But then I ask you guys, and some of you responded through chat. I'm just making conversation. I'm trying to get you guys warmed up. I'm trying to get you guys ready to learn. It's the same thing with anyone, any type of prospect or relationship that you're trying to develop. You got to create the conversation, and you got to control the conversation, but you cannot dominate the conversation. There's plenty of time for you to talk during the presentation and the valuation and the persuasion and all of these other steps. But the conversation they need to dominate. They need to have the most words used. It's all about getting them to talk, getting them to open up. I'm going to give you this little story. I had a guy that I hired years ago. He's very, very good with conversation. He'd keep people laughing. I would watch him. I say, man, this guy's going to be great in insurance sales. He's just an entertainer. He gets people laughing. He's a cut up. He's very warm. People love him. And then I hired him and I trained him and I got him out there and he just could not make a sale. He just could not make a sale. So I said, well, hey, let me go watch you for a day and just kind of see what you do. And he would sit down with a person and he'd start talking and he'd never stop talking. He'd just keep talking and he'd just give them all the information, tell them all about him, tell them all about the company, tell them all about the product. He'd talk. And then at the very end of the conversation, he stopped talking just long enough to ask them to buy. And then before they could even answer him, he'd start back talking. He dominated the conversation. He did not allow the person to ever get engaged. So you got to be a better listener even than you are a talker. You've got to be able to talk less, listen more, but make the words that you do use count. So we go from the salutation to the conversation, and then we get into the presentation. This is the portion of the call where we talk about ourselves, and we talk about the company, and we talk about the product. So to me, this part goes very, very smoothly if we've already learned about them, if we already know their situation, if we've already had them open up and talk. See, in the conversation, we also need, and I'm just kind of backtracking a little bit because I left this part out. In the conversation, we also need to find out how long they have been thinking about final expense life insurance. If you're writing notes, make that note. I always try to get, while they're talking, establish any possible objection that may come later on and go ahead and get it out of the way during this conversation period, so that once I get into the presentation, I've already got through most of the objections that they could do. We've talked about their kids somewhat. So I asked them, does your kids help you much? Do you have any of your children that are local? So all your kids live out of town, you don't see them very often? Okay. And I'm making note of that, because if later on they say, well, I need to consult with my kids. Miss Jones, I know you said your kids don't live near here and you don't really get to talk to them as much as you'd like to. That may take a long time, to line all that up. You know how busy kids can be and how busy even you can be. We want to go ahead and establish what are all of the possible objections. Let's just get them out of the way in the presentation, in the conversation. Let's get these established so that when the objections do come, if they come, hopefully not, but if they do come, we've already worked through some of them in the conversation. That helps tremendously if you can do that. And then we get them talking about their needs. Remember, we're there to meet their needs. We're there to solve the problem. So let's get them talking about, well, how long have you been thinking about final expense life insurance? So you called in on our commercial. Had you seen our commercials before? Had you thought about maybe I should do this? And then it was just the right time. Miss Jones, you sent this card in. Now, haven't you sent other cards in like this before? So you've been thinking about this for a while. Okay. Why am I doing that? Because if they object with, I need to think about it, we've already established that they've already been thinking about it. They've needed, and I can just come back and say, well, Miss Jones, I know you said you've sent other cards before and you've even talked to other people before. So I know you've been thinking about it for a long time. Why don't we do this? Why don't we go to the next step? You've thought about this for a long time. You know you need this. And I'm here today and I want to help you. We've established all of the things that you need help with and how we can do it. We've talked about the legacy plan and how it's going to do this. Why don't we do this, Miss Jones? Will you do this for me? Let's move forward. Let's go ahead and close the door on thinking about it. Let's get this done. It's one less thing for you to think about, one less thing for you to stress about. Let's check this off once and for all. Let's don't put it off. I'm like you, I procrastinate sometimes too. That's one of my biggest flaws, Ms. Jones, is procrastinating. But you know how good you feel when you get a big decision. And this is a big decision. That's why you've been thinking about it for so long. That's why you really don't want to mess up. Listen, the only way you can mess up is just not doing anything. So let's go ahead and get this done. Let's go ahead and get this checked the box. Ms. Jones, won't you feel a lot better once this is done? Won't this take a lot of stress off of you? Won't you have a sense of relief once we just get this done? Now, which one of these options will fit in your budget better? See, I've already worked in that close and I've already set that close up during the conversation. This is very important that during this conversation, we go ahead and address all of these things. Now, we go from the conversation that's all about the customer, all about the client. I'm asking more questions than I'm giving answers. I'll give answers later. This is where I ask questions during the conversation. Now that I've asked all the questions, now that I've established all of the information, now that I've got them open and ready to receive, now that I've got them, ready to go, I start with my presentation very softly, very gently. Miss Jones, let me tell you a little bit about myself. And this is where we talk about how I get, now see, I can say I've been in this, I've helped people like you for over 2 decades now. Long time. I love what I do because I get to help people. I can talk a little bit about myself. Now, maybe you don't have the experience yet, but you can talk about yourself and you can build yourself up. And so, Ms. Jones, let me tell you a little bit about me. I enjoy helping people like you. The best things about my job is I get to talk to somebody new every hour or two, and I get to help people all over the United States. And I've helped a lot of people meet a lot of these needs that you talked about. Let me tell you how I do this. I partner with a company called Senior Life Insurance Company, or whatever company you work for. Now, we'll talk a little bit about the company, how we can help them. Now, let me tell you how we can help you. Let me get just a little bit more information from you while we're talking. I'm going to tell you all of these great things. And then during that conversation period, hopefully you've already established their first and last name. You've already established where they live. You've already established their address. But we move into this presentation and we got to begin to present ourselves, present our company, present our product. And in the process of all of that, we've got to get a little bit of information from them that goes past just conversation. Now, once you've established yourself and you've told them a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your company, now we got to fit them. We got to fit them with the plan or the product or whatever. We got to fit them. So we got Ms. Jones. I need to get just a little bit of information from you. You've already got them talking. You've already got them open. You've already got them free. All that conversation did this. The greeting set the tone. The conversation moved them along. And now here we are. We're just getting a little information. Now, if you're working with Senior Life, you're using the Slice app, this is a very simple process. Ms. Jones, I need to get a little bit more information from you, and I want to see how we can help you. I'm going to look at these different options. Say, all I need from you is very simple. How tall are you? How much do you weigh? See, a lot of agents get caught up and they make jokes about the weight and all this. And I know I ain't supposed to ask you this, Ms. Jones. Don't do any of that. Just say, how much do you weigh? Just be professional. Don't be funny or none of that. Well, I don't know exactly how much I weigh, maybe 180, 190. What does it say on your driver's license? 175. Well, let's go with 175. All right. The last thing I need to know, hopefully you got a very, very simple process with Slice. It's very simple. You ask them how long they've been in all that. So I'm not going to just repeat all that. You know how that goes. Look into Slice app, look on the script. Let's get their medications. Let's do everything we need to do for the underwriting process. And then we'll go into valuation. What is valuation? We got to create value. Now, I've watched agents for years stand on a front porch and give out price quotes. Guys, if you're trying to sell insurance based on price, you're not going to have a super successful career. You have got to create value. Value. Everybody that says, I just want the price, is trying to move you along. They'll never be interested. You got to create and establish value before you ever establish cost or price. We have to let them know what they're paying for, why they're paying for it, how this is going to help them. Value. We got to paint a picture of all of the problems this is going to solve. We got to paint a picture of all of the things this is going to do, all of the ways this is going to serve them, all of the way this is going to help them. And when we've created that picture and we've created that value, then we talk about price. If we get the value to be large, the price will always appear small. But if you have small value, the price is always going to seem high. Let me say that again because it's very important. If you build the value up to a high level, the price will always be small in comparison. But if you keep the value low, the price will always seem high. So you want to create value, establish value, and talk about all of the things that this is going to be able to do for them. That's why with Senior Life, we like to lead with legacy, because legacy creates a lot of value. We can reduce their funeral costs by about 50% in most cases. We work in conjunction with the guidelines of a federal law that was passed by Congress years ago called the Funeral Rule. This allows us to hold funeral homes accountable and hold them to the guidelines established, and we can work within these guidelines, and we can actually provide merchandise for you to the funeral home on your behalf. You still choose the funeral home you want to use. You're still in control. All of these things. The video Lead with Legacy explains that a whole lot better than I'm doing here. But I'm building key points. I'm creating and establishing value, and I'm taking that value and I'm making it more bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, so that when I drop the price in, it seems very, very low. It pales in comparison to all of this value. So what I love about the legacy plan is because it helps me to establish and to build value. Now, just the life insurance, just the death benefit is still huge value. If I'm quoting them a price or talking to them about a $15,000 life insurance policy, I'm going to build that value up. I'm not just going to say $15,000, but I'm going to let them know what they get for this $15,000, how expensive funerals are these days, how even cremations have went through the roof, and all of these things. I'm creating and establishing value. Another way I establish value is with me. Not only do you get legacy, not only do you get senior life insurance policy, but you get me. I'm here for you anytime you need me. I'm going to send you my card. Matter of fact, I've already texted that to you. I've already made sure you got that. My picture's on there. My phone number's on there. If you have a problem, you need me. When you pass away, hopefully that's a long time from now, just have your kids reach out to me. Throw yourself into that as you're creating value. You're part of that value. Legacy is part of that value. The death benefits part of that value. What else is part of that value? Very valuable thing is to not have to stress or worry about your final expense needs. Another piece of value that we need to establish here is peace of mind. Peace of mind. A clear mind. I'm taking care of this today. I'm checking this off. I'm not going to worry about it any longer. This is very valuable to them. So establish, create value, start over, salutation, conversation, presentation, valuation. If you get the valuation right, if you get the salutation right, the conversation goes smoothly. If the conversation goes smoothly, it's easy to transition from a conversation into a presentation. And then as we get out of that presentation, we build value, we create that. And then after we've established enough value, after we've presented the product and all of the things that it do, and in turn, in that built value, then we get in to cost. Everything costs, nothing's free in this world. And usually the more value something brings, the higher the cost attached is. What's the most expensive type of insurance a person can buy? Most of the time, whole life insurance. Final expense insurance is expensive because it's a simplified issue process. There's no paramedical examination. It's all simplified, so the rates can be even more expensive. You're selling the most expensive type of insurance in a lot of cases that is out there. There's a reason it costs more, because it's more valuable. It will pay. If a person buys a whole life insurance policy, the premium never goes up. That's part of the value. Ms. Jones, the plan I want to talk to you about today, and by the way, is the best plan, is one of our very best plans. Now, this is a plan where we can get you locked in at a coverage option, and that coverage option never decreases. This insurance can never expire or run out on you. Your premium will be the same every month, never goes up. Now, we hadn't told them what the premium is yet, and we're not going to tell them what the premium is yet. We're still establishing and building value. Every way and area that we can build value in, we're giving it to them right here. To the point that they almost beg for the price, and when they get the price, they're like, is that all? You mean I get all that just for just $75 a month? That's why we establish value. And Ms. Jones, I'm fixing to give you 3 coverage options. I don't like to say cost. I don't like to say price. I like to say coverage options. This is where we go into the persuasion portion. I'm almost done, guys. I got one more thing and then we're done. I told you I'd keep you for about an hour. I'm doing good. I'm a little over, but I'm doing good. Ms. Jones, I'm going to give you 3 different coverage options. I always give them choices. People like choices. If someone goes to a car lot to buy a vehicle, they want to see a full lot with multiple different types of colors and interiors and you know, they want to see cloth and they want to see leather. They want to see this. They want to see that. We give them options. Ms. Jones, I'm going to give you 3 coverage options, okay? The first option is $35,000 worth of natural death coverages. If you die in any kind of natural death, it's going to pay $35,000. We're going to put in with that another $35,000 worth of accidental death coverage. So it's a total of $70,000 worth of insurance. And this is the price for it. It's $120. I don't say $125.96. I just say $125. Second option, a little bit less, but still a good option. And then I give them that option. And then the last option is this amount, and it's $65 a month. And Ms. Jones, which of these options fit in your budget? The reason I say which of these options fit in your budget is because I've already established that they want it. I've already established that they need it. I've already established this is going to follow. The only thing I got to establish here in this process is what they can afford. And I don't want to say how much of this can you afford. I want to say what fits in your budget. That's just the way I like to say it. Whatever works for you, but I think you should adopt that. It's worked for me. If it works for me, it'll work for you. And at this point, it's all about what they say again. We can't dominate this part of the conversation. And in almost every case, when you get to that last coverage option and you say those words, which one of these fits in your budget, you need to be silent as long as it takes to allow them to be the next person to talk. Because this is their decision time now. Now's your time to back up and give them and let them lead right here. It's very tempting. It may be a long 30-second pause where nobody talks. Well, just let it be a pause. Don't be afraid of silence. And in most cases, the person's going to choose the cheapest option. Not all cases. Sometimes it's the most expensive option. But most of the time, they're going to choose that. Now, if you're with another insurance company other than Senior Life, just disregard this. But if you're with Senior Life through the Slice app is going to always give you 3 options. This is based on what people spend. Usually there's a $50, a $60, a $70, or a $50, a $70, and a $90. Don't customize this, guys. Just show them the options. Don't outspark the system. Don't go deviate from the system. Just show them the options. If they say they can't afford any of those options, Miss Jones, this $50 option, would this fit in your budget? John, I can't pay more than $30 a month. Then we can go in and we can customize if we need to, and we have to. Most cases you won't have to. This is what I've sat down with a lot of newer agents that just say, you know, I'm selling 4 or 5 policies a week. I just don't feel like I'm making enough money. Well, you're selling $18 and $20 and $25 premiums because you're just in your mind a little bit's better than nothing. Guys, they got to have enough money to pay for the funeral. I mean, they need some death benefit. It ain't all about your little commission. They got to get their death benefit. It's up to you not just to sell them, but to sell them what they need and what's actually going to pay off. Guys, a $5,000 policy is fine. They've got other insurance and you're just trying to get them the legacy plan, if that's the only thing you can do. But $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 is what people need for funerals. And that's just today. We've got the worst inflation we've had in years, guys. What do you think a funeral is going to cost 20 years from now? Someone's 65 years old. They've got this insurance may not be used until they're 85. That's 20 years worth of inflation. That's going to be, don't underinsure them because you're just trying to lowball it to get that commission. Really look at what the needs are and do your best to place them in the policy that's going to meet their needs. Now, I get it. You can't get blood from a turnip and you got to make the sale. And a lot of times they can't afford it. But this is the part that you don't need to deviate from the plan. Go with the coverage options presented for you. Now, when it comes to persuasion, it's not rocket science what we do. We've got them opened up. We've got them talking. We've went through the presentation. We've created the value. This should not be the hardest part. But if they do object, then hopefully you've already talked about the possible objections during the conversation. Most of the objections are always the same. I need to think about it. If somebody tells you they need to think about it, they're saying no, but they don't want to say no, so they tell you they need to think about it. Hopefully, you've already established the fact that they've been thinking about this for a long time. They keep putting it off. So if that has been established, then that is a lot easier to handle at this point. Now, last point I want to get to, and I'm about to wrap this up. Once you've went through the valuation and presentation, once you've got them settled on a coverage option, got all that locked in, you got to get a lot of information from them. I don't care what company you represent. Now's when we get off of all of this and we're just asking them health questions, or we're just asking them banking information. We're asking them their social security number. You probably already got that, but this is just a lot of questions. You're getting them to sign stuff. Very important. Reiteration. Let me go back through them. We got our salutation, we got our conversation, our presentation, our evaluation, our persuasion. We got to persuade them to do it. Sometimes people need a little urging to move. Then reiteration. Why is this important? This is what I call putting the bow on the package. You've wrapped it up, you put it in a box, you wrapped it up. Now we got to put the bow on it. Maybe at this point you've already done everything. The sale's been made. You've got everything's completed. You've got your voice recording if you're on the phone, if you're face to face. You've got all the signatures. What I like to do is take about 5 minutes and reiterate everything we talked about. I do not want the last part of my call to just be health information, legal stuff, and me reading stuff off to them and impersonal. I don't want it to be impersonal. I want the last 5 minutes of this conversation to go back through and reiterate and hit all those points. Go back through the conversation a little bit, go back through the presentation just a tad, the valuation again, remind them that, again, I want to establish this with you about this legacy plan. You're going to get your policy in the mail and you're going to get a welcome package from Legacy. They're not going to come at the same time. Your policy is probably going to come quicker, and then that legacy package will come again. If you're in face-to-face with them, this is when you're leaving the little brochure, you're putting it in the folder, and you're reiterating. Again, I'm easy to get a hold of. Anytime you need me, just call this number. If you can't reach me, you can call the home office. This is there. If you need to change checking account information down the road, you get a different account, you need to change that, don't call me because I can't help you with that, but you can call the 1-800 number, go directly to the home office. They'll fix that. But I'm going to do some reiterating. A big mistake that rookie agents or new agents make, and I say new agents, I've seen seasoned agents do this. A big mistake that people do is they take the money and run, or they take the information and run, or they take the check and run. Guys, be seated in the cell, be comfortable. You're not in a hurry to get through and you're not in a hurry to get out. The most important customer is the customer in front of you. So reiterate, go back through everything that you went over, put the bow on it, build a little bit more value at the end. Make sure you leave them with the warm fuzzies, or you hang up, they've got the warm fuzzies. Reiterate, go back through everything, make them feel at ease. Once again, let them know they made a good decision. Let them know that you're there because you care about them and you want to help them. And that's it, guys. We got our salutation, we got our conversation, our presentation, our valuation, persuasion, and reiteration. If you get all of these things done, you can seamlessly move through this sales cycle. Every bit of this can be done in 40 to 60 minutes, and you're done. The customer's helped. You've made a little money. Everything's right in the world. So thank you guys for being on, tuning in on this video. It's been a pleasure and it's been fun.